Good morning, students. This is the solution video for the MJ 2019 paper 4-2. As usual, please refer to the timestamps available below for the specific questions and pause the video to copy down any working as I'll be showing the solutions to the questions continuously. Without further ado, let's start. So, starting from our first question, we know that the price of a newspaper has increased from 0.97 to 1.13. So from here, they ask us to calculate what is the percentage increase. So we are basically taking any percentage change, right? So percentage change formula is simply the new value minus the old value divided by the old value, multiplied by 100 to find the percentage. So from here, we will take 1.13 minus 0.97 divided by 0.97 times by 100, and the rest is calculator work already. So from here, we will just get 16.5%. So this is the percentage change, 1.97 to this in three significant figures, from 0.97 to 1.13. Right, so moving on. So from here, B, the newspaper had 60 pages of news and advertisements. The ratio, the number of page of news to advertisements is 5 to 7. Calculate the number of pages of advertisements. So we know that news to ads is 5 to 7. So in other words, there are a total of 12 parts in this ratio. So 12 parts is equal to 60 pages. And therefore, one part will be 5 pages if we divide both sides by 12. Here divide 12, here divide 12. So in other words, we're looking for a number of pages for ads. So ads is 7 parts. So 7 parts equals to 5 times 7. So that's 35 pages. So moving on to part 2. Write the number of pages of advertisements as a percentage of the number of news. So they're looking for ads as a percentage of news. So we just need to plug in the values. So the number of ads available, we counted last question, was 35. So the amount of news will be 25 because they should add up to 60. So times by 100. So from here, it would just be calculator work. So it would simply be 140%, right? So that would indicate that there is more advertisements compared to news, right? So that's for part 2 done. Moving on to question number 1C. So for question number 1C, we are doing a currency conversion. So Maria paid 2.25 euros for the newspaper when the exchange rate was $1 to 0.9416. At home, Maria paid $1.13 for newspaper. So calculate the difference in price. So they say to give your answer in dollars. So we are converting it to dollars instead of the other way around. So to convert 2.25 euros to dollars, so we know that $1 is 0.9416 euro. Now, to make it easier, what we will do is that we can convert it to 1 euro instead by dividing it by 0.9416 on both sides. So we have 1 euro equals to 1 over 0.9416 dollar. Right, so from here, we can multiply by 2.25 on both sides to get the value in dollars. So it'll be 2.25 euro equals to 2.25 times 1 over 0.9416 dollars. So that would be $2.39. Correct to three significant figures, huh? So they asked for find the difference in price. So the price at home is $1.13. So we can find the difference to the nearest cent would be 2.3. Actually, I shouldn't round it so quickly. I'll just take a little bit more decimals first. So it'll be 2.3895. So it'll be 2.3895 minus 1.13. So 2.3895 minus 1.13, that will give us 1.77. This is in three significant figures to the nearest cents, right? So this is the difference in price for the newspapers. So that's question C done. So moving on to question D and E. So we have an exponential increase. Exponential decrease by X% each year. Over a period of 21 years, the number of newspapers sold decreases by from 1763000 to 58,000. So calculate the value of x. So this is a percentage change formula where we will say P1 minus RT. This is for this is compound interest. However, this compound interest is a decreasing, or we call this as exponential decrease, or we call this as depreciation, right? So when it's 1 minus R power T, we call this as depreciation. So basically what happens is that when we have the depreciation formula is applied all the way up to 58,000. So the initial was 1763000, 1.763 million. So from here, the price fell. So we do not know the percentage, so I'll just put 1 minus x first. X percent is x over 100 lah. So 1 minus x over 100 to the power of t equals to 5,800. Or t we also know actually, t is the power of 21 because after 21 years, the value has reached 5,800. So from here, we can just divide both sides by the 1.763 million. So 1 over x, 1 minus x over 100 to the power of 21 equals to 5,800 divided by 1763123. So will be from here, we can just 21 root both sides of the equation. So if we 21 root both sides, we get 1 minus x over 100 equals to the 21 root of 5800 over 1763000. And then from here, we can calculate the value first. Take a little bit more decimal places because we are not done yet with this. So 5,800 over 1763123. So that would be 0.76168, right? So negative x over 100 minus both sides by 1. So that would be negative 0.23832. So x would simply be divided by 100 on both sides. So to three significant figures, that is 23.8%. So every year it decreased by 23.8% in this sense. So the next one in E, every page of the newspaper is a rectangle measuring 43 cm by 28 cm, both correct to the nearest centimeter. Calculate the upper bound of the page, of the area of the page. So area is simply um, length by width. So if you want the area upper, we need to do length upper times by width upper. So the length upper in this case is 43.5. The width upper is 28.5 because both are correct to the nearest centimeter. So in this case, the area upper would be 43.5 times by 28.5. Then we can get our answer there. So that would be 1240 to three significant figures, or if you want to put your final answer as 1239.75, that's the issue as well. But usually we leave it in three significant figures. So moving on to question number 2. So for 2A, it is an angles question. So from here, AC is parallel to AB to FBD, ABC is an isosceles, CBE is a straight line. So from here, we can find x. So this is isosceles triangle. In other words, we can find out what are these angles. So pretend that this is x. So 2x plus 26 equals to 180. 2x equals to 180 minus 26. 2x equals to 104. X equals to 77 degrees. So we know that this value here is 77. Sorry, I shouldn't call this x. I should have called this k instead, maybe some other unknown, because there is already an x here. Right, actually, yeah, that would be better, preferred. So from here, there is a straight line. So if these two are 77 degrees, we can apply some concepts here. So if we follow our alternate angle concept, so if I take our ruler out and then I draw from here to here to here, this is a Z. So if this is a Z, means if this is K, this will also be K, and we know that K is 77 degrees. So in other words, X will simply be 180 minus 77 because CBE is a straight line. So that's 103 degrees. So that's for number 2A solved. So for number 2B, so for number 2B, we have diagram shows a circle with diameter PQ. SPT is tangent. Find the value of Y. Now, we are required, if there are so many marks in the question, we are required to basically display every single one of our steps. So we also need to indicate certain concepts. For instance, we know that an angle at P, we should say, is 58 degrees. So according to alternate segment theorem, we know that the angle at P is equal to the angle at Q. So in other words, this angle is equal to this angle, because if we notice that this is a tangent line and this is a triangle that's touching the tangent precisely. So this will be 58 degrees here. So in other words, angle of Q will be 58 degrees in this case. So we know that this is 58. So we also know that this is 58 too because of the butterfly rule. Also, you can use alternate segment theorem, right? Because there is a butterfly here, if you guys can see. I will do it in green color. So there is a butterfly here, 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 and here. Hence, that is also 58 degrees here, right? So since we know this is 58, we know this is 17, we can find out what is this angle here. So 180 minus 58 minus 17, that will give us 105 degrees. And then from there, we can calculate what is our y. So therefore, y equals to 180 minus 105 degrees. So that would be 75 degrees. So that's done. So in question number 3, this is a 3-part question. So from here, few-part question, sorry. Write down in terms of R the probability that Andre does not cycle to school, given that his probability is R. So if he doesn't cycle to school, in other words, his probability is 1 minus R, lah. Right? This is the probability of him not cycling to school. So the probability that Benoit does not cycle to school is 1.3 minus R. The probability that both Andre and Benoit do not cycle to school is 0.4. So complete the equation. So it's just 1 minus R times 1.3 minus R is 0.4. They say show that this equation simplifies to so and so. So we can just continue to expand the brackets. So this is 1.3 minus R minus 1.3 R plus R squared equals to 0.4. Multiply everything by 10. This is 13 minus 10R minus 13R plus 10R squared equals to 4. So move everything to the left. So 10R squared minus 23R plus 13 minus 4 equals to 0. And finally, we have 10R squared minus 23R plus 13 minus 4. Sorry, plus 9 equals to 0. And that is shown. So in part 3, they say solve by factorization. So solve by factorization basically means they want a double bracket. You cannot use the quadratic formula for this case. So from here, we can do the cross method, 10R squared minus 23R plus 9. And then we can work it out from here. So we can take a few test values. So I can assume this is 5R and 2R. And then I can assume this is 3 and 3 as well. Maybe -3, because the middle value is negative. So if I draw my cross here, so this would be -15R, -6R, the result is -21R. So this value is not the same as this value. Therefore, this value's combination is not correct. So I would need to try another combination. So maybe instead of 3 and 3, maybe I can just opt to do -9 here and -1 here. Probably that would be better. So from here, this will give me -18R, -5R, and this gives me -23R. This is the same as this. Therefore, I can take this double bracket here, this and this. So I have a double bracket of 5R minus 9 and 2R minus 1, right? Equals to 0. So therefore, 5R minus 9 equals 0, 2R minus 1 equals to 0. So R equals to 9/5, R equals to 1/2. So we have two answers here. Now, if you're not very sure how to do this cross method, you also can reverse engineer it. So in other words, if your final answer in your working, if you use your calculator, your answer is R equals to 9/5, R equals to 1/2. This is your answer that you see on the calculator. What you can do is you reverse calculate. So in other words, you multiply both sides by 5. So 5R equals to 9, 2R equals to 1, 5R minus 9 equals to 0, 2R minus 1 equals to 0. And then you can just take this as your double bracket. So in other words, it would be 5R minus 9, 2R minus 1 equals to 0. So of course, if you write it like this order, they will not know what you did actually. So you can use this to actually, like if you're not sure about the cross method, you can use this to show as well, because end of the day, as long as you show the double brackets, that's the most important part of the question actually. Right. So there's no concern there. Right. So now, since r equals 9 over 5 and r equals to half, there's only one value that can work. So in other words, the only one that can work is r equals to half, because 9 over 5 will cause this value here to become 0. So we don't want that. So we're going to take r equals to half for our next part. So find the probability that a Benoit does not cycle to school. So Benoit does not cycle to school is 1.3 minus r. So it's 1.3 minus r. So we're going to use r over 2. Again, because 9 over 5 will cause this becomes a negative, yeah? So 1.3 minus 1 over 2 is 0.8. Right. So that's just that. So moving on to question number 4. So for question number 4, we have an equation of a straight line with a couple of coordinate geometry concepts here. So they asked us to find the gradient of the line. So in order to find the gradient of the line, you need to make y the subject first. So divide both sides by 2, y equals to 3 over 2x plus 2. So therefore, your gradient is 3 over 2. This is your m, and this is your c. Right. So find the coordinates where the line crosses the y-axis. So your c is simply 2, so it's 0, 2. So crossing the y-axis is basically the y-intercept of the question. Right, that's about it. So moving on to question boy. So question boy, we are given a graph drawn for us already. So from this question, we need to develop the equation of the line. So we know the y-intercept is 6. So from here, immediately we can say y equals to mx plus 6, positive 6. So to find the gradient, we need two coordinates. You can take 0, 6 here. We also can take 3, 0 here. So therefore, the gradient is 0 minus 6 over 3 minus 0, which is negative 6 over 3, negative 2. Therefore, y equals to negative 2x plus 6. So that is our equation of the line. So moving on, we have the equation they're asking for. The next one is find the equation of the perpendicular to line L that passes through line 3. So to find the perpendicular, we take m1, m2 equals to negative 1. So the gradient initially is negative 2, m2 equals to negative 1. So m2 equals to 1 over 2 by dividing negative 2 on both sides. So the equation of the perpendicular at the moment would be y equals to 1 over 2x plus c. So they gave us a coordinate 9, 3. So when x equals to 9, y equals to 3. So this is 3 equals to 9 over 2 plus c. So c equals to 3 minus 9 over 2. In other words, c is negative 1.5. So therefore, y equals to 1 over 2x minus 1.5. Right, so if you want to write everything in the same fraction form, you can write it as y equals to 1 over 2x minus 3 over 2. Right, you can write it either way. It's okay. So in question C, it is an independent question from A and B. So they gave us another 2 sets of coordinates, and then from here they asked us to find the length of AB. So to find the length of AB is simply Pythagoras theorem. So AB equals to square root of, so we take x difference 8 minus negative 4 square plus the y difference 5 minus 1 square. So that will be square root of 12 square plus 4 square. And then from there, we can leave our answer in 3 significant figures or cert. Either one is fine. So we have 4 cert 10. So if you feel unsafe to leave it like this, you can leave it in 3 sig of 12.6. This is 3 SF, yeah? So the next one is find the coordinates of AB. So finding the coordinates of AB is simply the midpoint of AB. So in other words, midpoint is simply adding the coordinates together. So 8 plus negative 4, whole thing divided by 2 for the x, and then 5 plus 1 divided by 2 for the y as well. So it'd be 4 over 2, 6 over 2. So finally, it is 2 and 3. So this is our midpoint for question C. Now, in part 5, so part 5, we are given a plot, complete the table and draw the graph, right? So for here, I will just draw the table on the side first. So the rest is all just calculatable. All you need to do is just substitute in the value of 0.2, 1, and 2 onto your calculator, and then you're good to go already. So from here, based on this is purely calculator work, so I will leave that to you, and I will just key in the values as well on my end to get the answer. So when x is 0.2, I get this as 2.45. And when x equals to 1, I get 0.25. And when x equals to 2, I get negative 0.25. Right. So my table is completed. So they asked us to draw a graph from a certain domain from 0.15 to 3.5, but you don't have to worry about that because they already gave you the values for it. So we can just work with the values that we are given. So I'm going to uh try to plot it out because graph paper is a bit small on my end. So I'm not sure if I can get the most precise drawing, but I'll try my best to get the most precise I can. So the first 2 points have been already plotted. Last 2 points actually has already been plotted. So we're gonna plot the first 6, 7. So we have 0.15 and 3.3. So 0.15 and 3.3, each of the boxes is worth 0.05. So we are taking 3 boxes. So 3 boxes to 3.3, that would be all the way up here. So for the y, each 2 boxes is 0.1. So 3.3 is somewhere around here. So we have our first plot. So 0.2 followed by 2.45. So 0.2 is quite literally just another 2 boxes, just 1 box away actually. And then 2.45 is right before 2.5. So let's just be careful here. So that's 4 boxes here. So 2.45 should be somewhere around here, right? So it's this one. And then we have 0.5 and 0.88. So 0.5, 0.88 is if you can't get the value of 0.88, you can round it up because it's pretty close to 0.9. So we can roughly round it up to 0.9. So we can get our plot somewhere around here. So 0.9 is somewhere here, right? So that's three coordinates plotted. And then we have 1.25, 1.25, 1 and 0.25 will be somewhere around here. This one's a bit easier, thank goodness. So 1.5 negative 0.04, it's kind of like negative 0.05. So 1.5 to negative 0.05 is the first box, so somewhere around here. And then lastly, it is 2.5 and negative 0.43. So negative 0.43 is pretty close to negative 0.45. So I'm just going to draw it right around, right before the negative 0.5 mark, somewhere around here. Right, so you can see that the curve, you can see the shape of the curve is pretty good. So from here, you just need to connect your points. My graph will not be perfect because I'm drawing it on a stylus, so I'm not very good at the stylus draw. So please make it smoother than this. This is not as great. This is not as smooth as it gets, yeah? So if possible, try to draw it as smooth as you can. Don't draw it like mine. So I'm just going to draw it roughly only because I'm not able to uh, perform the drawing as well. So I'll try my best to work it out. Okay, it's not very good either. So we need to go slowly. Okay, that's as close as I get lah. So from here, that is done for the graph. So part C, D, and E is you're required to use your graph to solve. So I'll just be placing it on the side here. Table value is no longer needed. So use your graph to solve for the equation 1 over 2x minus x over 4 equals to 1 over 2. So you'll notice that your graph equation earlier was y equals to 1 over 2x minus x over 4. This is your graph equation itself. So one good thing about this is that they've already given you the graph equation and you notice the similarity between the question and the graph you're given. So the question is 1 over 2x minus x over 4 equals to 1 over 2. In other words, what we can say is that I can replace this as simply y equals to 1 over 2 because this is y already. I can substitute it in. So all I need to do is just draw a line of y equals 1 over 2, and I'll do it in red. So y equals 1 over 2 is somewhere here, it is 0.5. So in other words, this intersection point will serve as your solution. So according to my graph that I've drawn, this solution is 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, somewhere around the avenue of 0.7 to 0.75. Right, so this is the range of answer from 0.7 to 0.75. Any of these values should work, yeah? So from next would be y equals to 2 minus x. So y equals to 2 minus x is simply just a simple line. So we have y equals to 2 minus x. So in other words, y equals to negative x plus 2. So we already have the y-intercept. All we need is another coordinate. So I'm just going to put when x equals to 1, y equals to negative 1 plus 2, y equals to 1. So I have two set of coordinate. One is the y-intercept where it's 2. And then another set of coordinate where we have 1, 1. So 1, 1 is somewhere around here. Right. So connecting my green dots, my green points together. So I will have a line equation like this. Right. So then they said write down the x coordinates where the graph y equals 2 minus x crosses the graph y equals to the curve lah, basically. So all we need to do is just draw the dotted lines down. So your answers will not be the same as mine because my lines are a little bit thicker. So there is always a range lah to work with. So it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.25. So this x coordinate here I got was 0.25. And then for the second one, I got around 2.5-ish. Yeah, somewhere around the avenue of 2.5. Right? It's not precise here, as I said previously. So according to your drawing, and usually they have a range for it. So they say show that the graph can be used to find the value of cert2 for x between 0.15 and 3.5. So we are looking for a value called cert2, yeah? So in other words, we are trying to show from our graph that we can find cert2. So what is cert2 actually? So if you look at our equation, cert2 is, or actually you can use your calculator first. Cert2 is a value that is like 1.1, cert2 is like 1.414. So since we know that cert2 is 1.414, we can use that to make a rough estimate. So how do we generate the equation out from here? So if we look at our equation, we have y equals to 1 over 2x minus x over 4, right? And then from here, if we did a little bit of expansion, 2xy equals to 1 minus 2x squared over 4. And then multiplying both sides by 4 will be 8xy equals to 4 minus 2x squared. So rearranging the equation 8xy plus 2x squared equals to 4. And then from here, factorizing out the x equation. So 2x squared plus 8xy minus 4 equals to 0. Both sides, everything divided by 2. So x squared plus 4xy minus 2 equals to 0. Right? Now, at this junction here, what we can work with is that hello, sorry, my audio got cut off a little bit. So what we can work with from here is that since we are looking for cert2, so the value of cert2 in this case is we can assume it as our y. So y equals to cert2. Let's just pretend that first. So cert2 will be x squared plus 4x cert2 minus 2 equals to 0. And then we have a quadratic x squared plus 4 cert2x minus 2 equals to 0. Now, if we solve this quadratically, what we will get is that we will have two x values. So it would be 1 for cert2 negative 2. So the corresponding x values would simply be 0.3385, and the next one is negative 5.9907. So if you look at it, 0.3385 in this case would give us, so 0.3 is somewhere around here. This is 0.5, 0.4, 0.3. So it's somewhere around here. So from this x equals 0.3, we will be able to gather that this is about 1.41, like that, right? So 1.4 lah, basically, somewhere around 1.4. So if you notice, see, cert2 is around 1.414, so we can get our estimate from here, right? So that is how we obtain the value of cert2 from our graph equation, right? Simply by plugging it into our values, into our equation, and then from there solving our equation for x equals this and this. So from there, we will be able to obtain from our graph, when x equals 0.33, we know that y equals to 1.4. Of course, we will not be able to go to super high accuracy. We can go to an estimate level of accuracy from here. Right, so this is the graphic questions. So for number 6, so we will have expand and simplify x plus 7, x minus 3. So simple expansion, x squared minus 3x plus 7x minus 21. So x squared plus 4x minus 21. So that is our answer. So from there, P1 factorized completely, 15p squared q squared minus 25q cubed. So both numbers can divide by 5. So we have 5, 3p squared q squared minus 5q cubed. And both have q squared in common. So we can take out another 5q squared. So that will be 3p squared minus 5q. And that's our final answer. So in part 2, they asked us to factorize this as well. These are 4 terms. So from the 4 terms, we can work 2 by 2. So let's isolate 2 terms by 2 in this case. So from here, these 2 terms, they have 2 and g in common. So I can take out 2g. So that's 2f plus 3h plus. So in these 2 terms, we know that 5 and k is common. So it'd be 5k. So again, this would be 2f plus 3h. And now you notice that these two brackets are the same. So we can factorize that out as well. So 2f plus 3h, if you factorize this out, you are left with 2g. So 2g here. And if you factorize 2f plus 3h here, you're left with 5k as well. So 2g plus 5k. So that is for your question part 2. And then finally for part 3 is based on our concept of a squared minus b squared equals to a minus ba plus b. So in other words, we are going to square root these 2 terms to break it down. So it will be 9k minus m and 9k plus m. So that will be our final answer for this case. So in question C, they asked us to solve the equation in question C. So we just need to expand our brackets first. So 3x minus 12 plus x plus 2 over 5 equals to 6. Multiply everything by 5. 15x minus 60 plus x plus 2 equals to 30. So from here, 16x minus 58 equals to 30, plus both sides by 58. So 16x equals to 88. So 88 divided by 16 in this case would simply be 11 over 2. So that's settled for part C. Shouldn't have much issue in this question already. So in question 7, show that each interior angle of a regular pentagon is 108 degrees. So in our proof, we know that our angle of our side angles is n minus 2 times 180. So this is the total interior angle, yeah, of a polygon, of n-sided polygon, n-sided regular n-sided polygon, to be precise. So from here, this would simply be 5 minus 2 times by 180. That would give you 540 degrees. So each pentagon side, each pentagon angle equals to 540 divided by 5 sides. So that would be 108 degrees that show. So for part B1, so in B1, the diagram shows a regular pentagon, A, B, C, D, E. The vertices of the pentagon lie on a circle, center O, radius 12 cm, M is the midpoint of BC, find DM. So we have given quite a bit of information for this. So they told us that the radius of this particular circle is 12. So in other words, if I draw a line from 0 to B, this is 12 as well. And then M is the midpoint, right? So we are looking for BM. And we know that this is 12 to start. Now, if you draw from the center to a corner of a regular polygon, you essentially split the angle in half. So if I were to draw out this particular portion here, O, A, B, this, and then M here, right? Now, this is O, A, B, and M. So the total earlier we calculated is 108. So we can split the angle into half. This is 54, and this is also 54, right? And this portion here is 90 degrees. Why? Because you are drawing from the center to the chord. When you draw from the center to the chord, you generate 90 degrees in this case. So in this case, we also know that OB is 12. So if we isolate out the triangle even further, this triangle is 12, this is OB, and then this is M, this is 90 degrees, and this is 54 degrees. And they're asking us for BM, so we can use cos to help us to find because it's CAH. So according to this angle perspective, this is adjacent and this is opposite. This is hypotenuse. So we can use cos of 54 equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. In other words, it is BM over 12. Cos 54 is BM over 12. So from there, we will know that BM equals to 12 cos 54. And then we can get our answer correct to three significant figures. And that would be 7.05 cm. Right. So in part 2, the OMX and ABX are straight lines. So they ask us to find what is BX. So we go even further now to find BX, which is this particular length here, the length of this line. So as I established earlier that OM is 90 degrees, in other words, this is also 90 degrees to work with, right? And then we calculated BM out already as, what is that angle called? Let me just redraw the triangle. So if I were to just redraw that portion of the question, so this is O, and then this is this and this. So this is O, this is M, this is B, this is 90 degrees, and this is X. Now, this portion here, this angle here, if you look back in the diagram, this is actually the exterior angle of the pentagon. So in exterior angle of the pentagon is 180 minus 108. This is 72 degrees, right? So in other words, we know that it is 72 degrees. And also we calculated earlier that BM is 7.05. So from there, again, we can use our we can use our trigonometry to find BX. So BX is the hypotenuse in this case. We have the adjacent according to the angle perspective. And it is opposite. So we can use ka yet again. So cos of 72 equals to 7.05 over the hypotenuse, which is BX. So BX equals to 7.05 divided by cos 72. So 7.05 divided by cos 72, that will simply give us 22.8 cm to three significant figures again. So that is part 3 complete. And then finally, in part B, they ask us to count out the area of AOX. So area of AOX is, I'll just use this portion here, right? And I'll just erase this part here. So area of AOX in this case would simply be just this portion here. I'll do it in blue color. So AOX is this triangle here. This, and this. Now, there's not much calculation that needs to be done because primarily we already know a lot of the information. We know that O to M is we know that O to M is the we can say quote unquote height of the triangle. So we have a lot of ways that we can try and solve this question. So the first part is that we can establish what is our height and base. So based on this triangle here, OAX, just drawing it out here to make it easier to see. So OAX here, this is our height and this is our base. So as long as we can find out what those two values are, we can count the area of the triangle. So in this case, first of all, I can find the height. Now, if you notice, this height is similar to the OM that we did earlier, this OM here. So we can use exactly the same concept to find out the length of the height. So again, from here, to find the height, this would be sine of 54 equals to, if you look at it, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So it would be the height over hypotenuse is 12. So the height is 12 sine 54. If you want to use exact values, you can just leave it as 12 sine 54 first. That one is done for the height. Now, as for the base, you calculated bx specifically. So this is b to x. So bx specifically, it was 22.8 to 3 significant figures. So this one is done already. Now, to do the second part, which is from A to B, right? If you are sharp enough, you can notice that just now B to M, right, was a value that we calculated, which is 7.05. It was this value here, right? This is what we calculated earlier. Now, this is half from B to M. In other words, from M to C, it is also 7.05. So this whole thing here, from B to M to C, this is 7.05. M to C is also 7.05. And this is a regular polygon. So BC is the same as AB. So in this case, AB equals to BC. In other words, it is 7.05 plus 7.05, which is 14.1. So the base is just 14.1. So there's not much calculation required. Most of the time, we just need to work with what we've already counted. So in other words, our area would just be 1 over 2 times 12 sine 54 multiplied by 14.1 plus 22.8 for the base. And then we can count our answer here. So 0.5 times 12 sine 54 multiplied by 14.1 plus 22.8. And that would give us 179.12 cm square, or in 3 significant figures is 179 cm square. This into 3 significant figures, yeah? So either or is fine. So that is the triangle question complete. So moving on to number 8. So for number 8 itself, it is a solution of triangle question. So for solution of triangles, we are going to use our sine and cos rule. So they first ask us to find out what is AB. So AB is here. And you notice that they have given us what is 16.5 top 4 in the angle. So we can use cos rule. So we know that we know that AB square equals to 16.5 square plus 12.4 square minus 2, 16.5, 12.4 cos of 64. And then from here, we can literally just square root whatever that we wrote up there just now. And then we can count once in one stretch of your calculator. So if you want to show some level of working, you can do the intermediate calculations. You can add these two first. So that's 426.01 minus, so 2 times 16.5 times 12.4 would be 409.2 cos of 64. Then we square root the whole thing. So we take 426.01 minus 409.2 cos 64. And that would be square root of 246.6285, and then we square root our answer, and that would give us 15.7 cm. Right. So that is AB settled. So in part 2, find BC. So in BC, now we are looking for this portion here. So this portion here, we can find out the angle first. So the angle at this portion is just 180 minus 53 minus 95. So 180, 53, 95. That will give us 32 degrees. And then from there, we can use our sine rule to solve. So this is 32. Now, in our sine rule, these are pairs and these are pairs. So we can say that 12 over sine 32 equals to BC over sine 53. And all we need to do is just multiply sine 53 on the other side of the equation. So 12 over sine 32 multiplied by sine 53. So that will be equals to 18.1, correct to three significant figures. And that is settled. So moving on to question boy. This is not relevant to, these workings are no longer relevant. Questions are done here already. So this is a sector of circle, radius 3.8, arc length is 7.7, count y. So from here, our arc length formula is simply just x over 360 times by 2 pi r. So we know the arc length, which is 7.7. We don't know what's the angle, it's y. And we know what is the radius, which is 3.8. So from here, this is 7.7 equals to 7.6 pi y over 360. We can just multiply both sides by 360. So 7.7 times 360 is 2772. And our final answer will be y equals to 2772 divided 7.6 pi. So I do it like this so I can retain as much decimals as possible, yeah? So you may do this as well if you want to retain more decimal places. So this is 116 degrees, correct to three significant figures. Right, so this part 1 done. And then we go to part 2. Part 2 is the area of sector. So area of sector is simply x over 360 times pi r square. So using the angle that we got earlier, 116 over 360 times by pi times by radius squared. So that is 116, 360 times by pi r squared. So that is 14.6 cm square. Right. So that's part 2 complete as well. So for question number 9, we have part A and B. This one is a statistics question. So this is something that you're very used to already. Calculate estimate of mean given the class size and the frequency. Find the midpoints first. So 0 to 5 is 2.5. 5 to 10 is 7.5. 10 to 20 is 15. 20 to 30 is 35. And 30 to 50 is 40. So if you're not sure how to count this, all you need to do is just take the two ranges and then divide it by 2. So that will be 2.5. That's how we do for everything else. So after we do that, we're going to multiply everything together. So it will be 2.5 times 16 plus 7.5 times 38 plus 15 times 30 plus 25 times 9 plus 40 times 7. So the whole thing here, we are going to divide it by 16 plus 38 plus 30 plus 9 plus 7. So we are taking the total value of total amount of money divided by all of the students together. So just working with this, the rest is just calculator work, yeah? So this working usually I will recommend you to do because that's basically all you need to show. So you just need to count the top value, and then after that you can count the bottom. But if you're sharp enough, you can see that it's 100 students, so you can just divide by 100 immediately also. Okay, so the answer is $12.8, right? The amount they spend every week. So complete the cumulative frequency table below. So cumulative frequency means cumulate the frequencies. So first one start with 16. So 16 plus 38, we can add it together. That will give us the value of 54. So 54, we're going to add it with 30, and that will give us 84. 84 added with 90, that will give us 93. Right, so we are basically adding up the frequencies as we move on the classes in that sense. So in C, they are asking us to draw the cumulative frequency diagram. So we are going to just put it here. And then from the cumulative frequency diagram, we are taking our 5, 10, 20, 30 to 50 lah. So 5 is 16. Each box here is representative of 2. So I will take about here, starting from 0, of course. And then 10 to 54. So 10 to 54, that would be somewhere around here. And then we have 2084. 2084 is somewhere around. I follow the right line. I'm a little bit off. Just need to go beside. Yep. And then the last one is 5000. So 5000 is here. Yeah, 3093 also. So 3093 is from here. Did I get that right? Can't really see. It's a bit difficult to see in this case. So yeah, something like that. 98, 96, 94. Okay. So just the box below it here, right? So from here, I think you guys shouldn't have any issue with the sketch. So I'm just going to roughly get the value here. So of course, my curve is not perfect. So I would expect you guys to draw a more perfect one here because you guys have pencil and paper. You can erase multiple times. On tablet, a bit difficult for me here. So from there, we can use the cumulative frequency diagram to estimate our median, interquartile, and our number of students. So median is Q2, in other words, half of the students. So for our Q2, what we're going to do is that we're going to take half times 100 first, and that is 50 students. So from the 50 students, we are going to draw a line from 50 to the curve. And then from there, we're going to go down. So when we go down, we get the value of about 9. From what I see, it's 9. So median is 9. There is some margin of error that can be provided there as well. So 2 is your interquartile range. So interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So we know Q3 is 75%, or basically 3/4, and Q1 is 1/4. So 3/4 would be 75 students. So 75 students is, this is 75 is here. And then we go down around here. So that's 11, 12, 13 and a 14 and a half, I think. So that's about 14 and a half for Q3. And then for Q1, that is 25 students. So 25 is somewhere around here. And then your graph goes down somewhere around here. So that's around 7 students. So that's 7. So finally, our interquartile range is 14.5 minus 7, which is 6.5. Your values may vary slightly because my graph is not very accurate. Your graph should be more accurate than mine because yours should be smoother. So the number of students who spend more than $25, so more than $25 is simply, you just go from the $25 mark at somewhere around the bottom here, and then you can find the number of students. That's 1, 3, 4, yeah, 5, right? So then from there, you can see how much students he has taken up already. It seems to have taken up about 82, 4, 6, 8 students. So our number of students who spend more than 25 is here, right? So that is basically 100 minus 84. So 100 minus 80, sorry, 82, 4, 6, 8, 9, 4, 6, 8, 8, 2, 4, 88, sorry. 100 minus 88. So 108 minus 88 is 12 students. So 12 students spend more than $25 in this case. So moving to number 10. So in question number 10, volume of a sphere is so and so. Calculate the radius. So given the formula as well, so 4 over b equals to 4 over 3 pi r cubed. 24430 equals to 4 over 3 pi r cubed. And then we can slowly solve towards our answer. So we're going to multiply 3 and divide 4. So 24430 times 3 divide 4 would be 36645 divide 2 equals to pi r cubed. Divide both sides by pi. So the pi ends up at the bottom here. And then cube root your calculation. So that would simply be 18. Quite accurate actually. This is almost precisely 18 because 18.000. So the metal sphere is placed in an empty tank. The tank is a cylinder with radius 50 cm standing on a circular base. Water is poured into the tank to a depth of 60 cm. Calculate the number of liters of water needed. Now, the thing is that we have already put a, a sphere inside. So you've already accounted for a certain amount of volume of the sphere, of the sphere in this case. So in here, what is the cylinder when they pour it up to 60 cm depth, right? So in other words, the volume of cylinder required for 60 cm is pi r square h. So that is pi, the radius is 50 and the depth is 60. Yeah? So from there, we can calculate it 50 square times by 60 times by pi. That will give us 150,000 pi cm cube. This is how much volume cylinder needed. Now, when they put in a sphere of 24,430 cm cube already, right? So in other words, the volume remaining of water remaining would simply be 150,000 pi subtracted with 24,430. So we subtract it off because that sphere has already accounted for the water. So the amount of water that we need, right, has already decreased at that point. So that would simply make it become 446,808.898 cm cube. This is how much more water that we need to pour in. So in other words, in terms of liters, if we divide by 1,000, so that would simply be 446.8 liters, or if you round it to 36, it's 447 liters. This is in 36. So that's how much water that we need to fill in to reach that height of 60 cm. So the last one is part C, B. So a different tank is a cuboid measured 1.8, 1.5, 1.2. Water flows from a pipe from this empty tank at the rate of 200 cm cube per second. Find the time taken. So this is actually not relevant to the previous question. So we can just continue afresh. So from here, we can find the volume of the tank first. So volume is 1.8 times 1.5 times 1.2, right? So from there, 1.8, 1.5, 1.2, that would give us 3.24 meter cube. So the water is flowing in at 200 cm cube per second. I recommend you to convert it into cm cube first. So we multiply by 100 cube. So multiplying by 100 cube will give us 324,000 cm cube. So the water is flowing at the rate of 200 cm cube per second, right? So find the time it takes to fill the tank. It just simply take time is 324,000 divide by 200. So we divide by 200, that will give us 16200 seconds. So they want the answer in hours and minutes. So we divide by 60 first, the first round. So when we divide by 60, we will get 270 minutes. And then yet again, we divide by another 60 to get in hours. So that would be 9 over 2 hours, or in other words, it is 4 over 2 hours. In other words, it is 4 hours and 30 minutes. Right, so that is our answer. So moving on to part C. So in part C, we are given a similarity question. So in similarities, we are given the area as the shapes are mathematically similar. They gave us one length and they asked us to find the other width. So in other words, area of the bigger over the area of the smaller can be equivalent to the length of the bigger, length of the smaller, or in this case, width of the bigger, width of the smaller. But you need to square root the area. So it'll be square root of 295 over 159.5 equals to 17 over the width of the smaller one. We can reverse the calculation. So width of the smaller one is 17 over. So we can swap these two positions immediately if you want to retain more decimals. So it'll be 17 over square root of 295 over 159.5. And from there, we would get our answer already. Rest is calculator work. So that would be 12.5, correct to three significant figures, and it's quite accurate as well if you take all the decimal places. So that is the width of the smaller shape. So for our last set of questions, so starting from number 11. So from there, we are given a pattern. So number of small lines is 4, 10, 18, 28. Number of dots is 4, 8, 13, 19. So find an expression for small lines. So we can see a kind of mini pattern here. This is plus 6, and then this is plus 8, and then this is plus 10. So in other words, this is a quadratic sequence because the second layer has a plus 2. We can see the similarity appear in plus 2. Right? So filling in the table first, this one will be plus 12. So that will be 40. And then lastly is plus 14. So this would be 54. So for the bottom layer is plus 4, plus 5, plus 6. So this is plus 7, which is 26, and then plus 8, which is 34. Right? So we have filled in the table in that sense. So find an expression for the lines. So in this case, if you want to do the proper way, it will be Tn equals to An squared plus Bn plus C. Right? This is the general formula. So to find A is the second difference over 2. So that is simply just 2 over 2. A is 1. So Tn equals to n squared plus Bn plus C. So actually B is 0, but if you want to see why it's 0, we know that from here, if let's say we take the first term is T1 equals to 4, right? So then we know that 4 equals to 1 squared plus B times 1 plus C. 4 equals to 1 plus B plus C. B plus C equals to 3, right? And then for T2 is 10. So we know that 10 equals to 2 squared plus B times 2 plus C. So 10 equals to 4 plus 2B plus C. And then finally 2B plus C equals to 6. So this is equation 1 and 2. So this 1 and 2. Sorry, I said B is 0, but I think, yeah, it's supposed to be C as 0, yeah? So in this case, equation 2 minus equation 1 will simply give us B equals to 3. So therefore, B plus C equals to 3, 3 plus C equals to 3, C equals to 0. So our equation would be Tn equals to n squared plus 3n. That's it. This is our equation. So normally they will not ask you to do C or they will not ask you to do B, but if you want to like be extra careful, you can just write it like this lah. Or you can just trial and error it. If you trial and error it, basically you need to plug in values into A, B, and C to make sure that the equation works, but make sure it works for everything. So the safest method is of course this method. This method will guarantee the answer in this case. So diagram R has 10,300 small lines, find R. So from there, we know from the equation already, we have Tn equals to n squared plus 3n. So we know that Tn or Tr equals to 10,300. That's the Rth term lah, basically. So Rth diagram. So in this case, R squared plus 3R equals to 10,300. And then we can just use a quadratic solve for this. Like we don't even need to think too hard about this. So then we just go onto our quadratic mode. And then we can work our way towards the answer. So from here, we have R equals to 100 and negative 103. Of course, we take the positive value. So this is the 100th diagram in this case. So R is 100, yeah? 2 marks only, don't need to show quadratic formula. And then for our last question, the number of dots, I'll just erase this first. So the number of dots of the diagram is an squared plus bn plus 1. So find the value of a and b. So once again, you can just use my method or you can just trial and error it, your choice. So the safe one is just call Tan equals an squared plus bn plus 1. And then from there, T1 equals to 4. So a times 1 squared, a is 4. So a plus 1 squared plus b times 1 plus 1 equals to 4. A plus b plus 1 equals 4. A plus b equals to 3. So again, T2 equals to 8. So this is for dots, yeah? Please don't make the mistake. So it's A times 2 squared plus B times 2 plus 1 equals to 8. 2A plus 2B 4a plus 2b plus 1 equals to 8. 4a plus 2b equals to 7. So this equation I multiply by 2, 2a plus 2b equals to 6. Therefore, this equation 1, this equation 2. So equation 1 minus equation 2. So 2a equals to 1, a equals to half. So since a equals to half, so we can know that 2 times half plus 2b equals to 6. 1 plus 2b equals to 6. 2b equals to 5. And b equals to 5 over 2. Right? So that's it for a and b. So a is 1, 2, b is 5 over 2 in this case. Right, so that's all for the MJ paper. So good luck for your preparation. I'll see you guys soon.